Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a thrilling edition of Master of None Live. I got my good old friend D.L. Vince here. We're going to talk about some Star Wars, specifically to make reference to some comments I made last night on Mad Max's stream about how I kind of I think Rose is not only a misunderstood character, quite frankly, an underestimated character, and wrongly vilified, in my opinion. And I hope tonight I might be able to dissuade some opinions and maybe swing some over to my side. And juxtaposed with that, with Cara Dune, everyone's favorite Alderaanian besides Princess Leia, but she's not really Alderaanian, so that. Anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, so basically, I started it out. I kind of just did a Google search. I did Rose Tico, and one of the first funny things that I found was the question was why do people hate Rose Tico? And a lot of them, it's because she's boring. And the first thing I kind of want to set aside is feelings about The Last Jedi, because I think that feelings about The Last Jedi will cloud the discussion a little bit, because I know there's a lot of vitriol towards The Last Jedi, and I kind of just want to remove it out from that equation a little bit, because I kind of look at Star Wars on the whole instead of just on certain aspects of it. You know what I mean? To where there's a lot of stuff to look at, and if you just focus on just a little tiny bit of it, you can kind of lose sight of the big picture. It is the best way I can look at it. Right. So with that being said, hate removed from The Last Jedi, or whatever feelings you have towards it, the character of Rose herself, she's not boring. She's actually more drawn out in the 2 hours of that movie than in her screen time than a lot of other characters, arguably, in the sequel trilogy. You know what I mean? I think she kind of got a pretty good shake at it. So anyways, looks like we do have some folks in the chat. Tony from the Geek Getaway: Rose character sucks. Cara just had a bad actress. Well, I can agree for you on the second half. I'm not going to say that Gina Carano's acting is Oscar worthy, but yeah, Rose, Kelly Marie Tran's acting is a lot better than.
I will agree with that, because before The Mandalorian, I thought Gina Carano was bad. She was not good in Deadpool. She was not good in the Fast and Furious movies.
She didn't talk in Deadpool, right?
Well, she had a couple of lines, and that was it. And even the couple of lines, I'm like, oh, come on, Gina. Come on now. But yeah, I will say I think she vastly improved in Mandalorian. I thought she was pretty solid acting-wise.
Well, yeah, especially in the second season. I mean, it really quite improved. And like I said, I'm not going to bash on Gina Carano or Cara Dune or anything like that. This is mostly just kind of trying to just focus on the positive aspects of both of the characters, and then just kind of weighing them out after that. Looks like we got Mr. Zod Rider here. Hey, man, thanks for stopping by.
Zod.
Man, make sure you're all leaving a like. Got Mr. Ed. How you doing, bud? Hey, you're at work? Oh, no problem, man. Catch it on the replay. We'll have some fun. Punk Trace is here. Hey, man, what's up? Welcome. And it looks like we got another person to the stream. Mr. Crazy Joe. What's happening, bud?
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Just about to kind of get into a little bit of why I think that Rose is more one of the more important characters with regards to the sequel trilogy, and why I might think she might be a little bit better as far as what the story's been developed so far, as who I think is a little bit better, who wore it better.
Wait a minute. Sequel trilogy. Are we talking about Rose from Star Wars?
Yes, we are. We are talking about Rose Tico from everyone's favorite film.
I thought this was about Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls.
Oh, well,
I know nothing about that.
Neither do I. That was like what my grandparents watched, and I usually fell asleep. Let's see here. Do you think Whisper asked, do you think episode 3 would have been better with an R rating? Do you think The Dark Knight would have been better with an R rating?
No, not necessarily.
No, I've said it in the past. You don't have to have an R-rated story, or it doesn't have to have an R rating to tell a good story. So at the end of the day, you know, it's not too bad.
And like it was pushing boundaries. Like episode 3 was already pushing boundaries rating wise. That was the first PG-13, right?
Yeah, and absolutely.
It went pretty far with the kills. I mean, yeah, there wasn't any blood because of the lightsabers. With they were using lightsabers. But as far as kills, they were getting brutal in that movie. he turned
the lightsaber on the kids, man. Like,
yeah,
that's as dark as you can get, man, for PG-13. So. But anyways, when I was looking it up on Google, it says, why do people hate Rose? And it said because she's boring. And I'm just like, what? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what she did in that movie that was at all boring.
Okay, so I'll just establish, I don't hate The Last Jedi. I don't love The Last Jedi. I'm like in the middle on it. There's a lot of things that I love, and there's a lot of things that frustrate me about it. Rose is not that bad to me. She's fine. There was a couple things that she did in the movie that did annoy me, and it's not so much because it's Kelly Marie Tran's fault or if it's the character's fault. I think it's the fact that the writing, it's the fact that for people that didn't like The Last Jedi, I think they feel like they were giving too much attention to her where there should be putting more attention on other more important characters like Finn and like Poe, and it like feels like her plot in the movie ended up being inconsequential by the time the movie was over. So that's what I feel. And then the Rise of Skywalker, even I felt bad that her role was
she really did got relegated to the background scenery with regards to that. No, I can agree on that one. Oh. Yeah, sorry. What's up, TW? What's up, man?
Where'd you go?
All right. Mr. Ambassador says, let's just say Rose had no arc or development. At least Cara had both. The actress might not have been the best, but she had better material to work with. Let's see. Let's be honest. Fast and Furious are better than Johnson. Okay. See now what I'm trying to get at.
Fast and Furious.
All right. So basically, say that for some of them.
I can't.
Funny.
No,
that's funny.
No. So, anyways, and that's kind of what I'm talking about there. She did have an arc. And it kind of started with her sister. Her sister sacrificed everything, her life, so that bomber can complete its mission. Okay. As foolhardy, and like I said, let's set aside however we feel about the movie, as foolhardy a mission that was, her sacrifice implanted into Rose that. So when Finn full-heartedly goes to sacrifice himself, and I'll get to that in a minute, at the end of the movie, she stops him. Okay, and not only that, but she utters the most important words Favreau, Filoni, non-geek in Star Wars, which is, the don't fight what you hate, stand for what you love. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important. So yes, Rose has a very important arc if you think about it, and that's not even including what happened at Canto Bight. That's just her start point and her end point. She was sad because she lost her sister because of a pointless sacrifice. I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's arguable. And it's arguable at the same thing.
About that, but
because at the end of the movie, that fighter wasn't going to do jack squat versus that big old Death Star laser. one little tiny rickety, almost breaking apart craft, if it even made it that far. You know what I mean? So it's not like his sacrifice at the end would have been for naught, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, in my opinion, I was waiting to talk about that moment because that's like one of the biggest controversial points of Rose. So it's for me, I guess it's tougher to say if Finn's sacrifice would have been for nothing, like judging how the condition of the ship is before it reaches the impact of the blast. So okay, that's fair enough. But like the fact that, you know, yes, her line of like, we don't win this war by killing people we hate, but saving people we love. Okay, yes, that was a great quote. It was very nice. However, I didn't feel like that was the moment to say that because I don't feel like that fits in the situation that they were in. And like judging, we could judge what, you know, if Finn's sacrifice would have worked or not. But the fact that she stopped him from making an effort, and then we see the result of that. Of like, okay, you nearly cost the last of Resistance lives because you stopped him from making an effort to stop the blast. Now, we could argue if it worked or not, but that's what's frustrating about it. It was like Finn was actually giving his life for the Resistance, for the people he cared about at that moment. And the quote that Rose was giving doesn't fit with that because he wasn't killing people he hated. He was sacrificing himself. He was thinking about other people before him. So for her to come, you know, and interrupt that moment for him, even though I didn't want him to die, because Finn's one of my favorite characters in the sequel trilogy. But for him to stop him from doing that, it just feels kind of like a sucker punch, you know, as far as Finn's. So,
well, no, and I kind of agree because at that point in time in the movie, you're kind of like emotionally, you're like, yeah, go for it, dude. Mm-hmm. You know, fly into that thing. You know, honestly, I think if it would have been better if they'd have done it like kind of like this way, maybe in a sense where instead of crashing her ship into his ship, give him the old Picard speech. You know what I mean? Like the impassioned speech, so where everyone in the Resistance can hear it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it kind of like that kind of kindles a fire. Yeah. And it's not from, you know, Princess Leia. It's not from that. It's from a maintenance worker. You know what I mean? So a lowly maintenance worker. So I think that probably would have been way more powerful. And damn it, what the hell?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like what she's saying is not necessarily bad. And like her role in the movie, even in the Canto Bight scene, even though I don't like the Canto Bight scene, I didn't have any problem with what she was doing. Like up until that point, she had the potential to be a really interesting character. It was just like they're picking the wrong moments to give her. You know, it just felt like it was weirdly placed. Like this could have been worked in a different part of the scene or saved for a different moment where it fits. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mr. TW, what do you think about Miss Rose Tico?
Huh. I thought I was going to come in here more prepared than this. I really did. But I think more than anything else, it's what I was kind of coming in here was to listen to kind of both sides if there was sort of a, you know, as sort of a be it resolved kind of thing. Not to act as a moderator, but to kind of listen to both and see, as far as if you're having a be it, you know, if you were to put it into a quote, you know, be it resolved, Rose Tico is a more important or better character than Cara Dune. I want to listen to both sides of the argument, kind of give you, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So
my opinion on that.
We'll come back to you then. Mr. Joe, what are your thoughts on Rose?
Well, I love the character. I think it's a great character. I think she really got shafted in Rise of Skywalker, which is my least favorite of the Disney era films. But I still like it better than any of the prequels. I really wish Rian Johnson had come back to direct Episode 9. I feel like she would have gotten a better arc if he had the creator of the character had come back. But that's beside the point. Yeah. I think her line, the line you just quoted about this is how we're going to win, not by killing what we hate, but by saving what we love. I've quoted that line so many times on my channel because I have kind of adopted that as the mantra for Megapodtastic, because we pretty much only talk about what we love. We don't talk, like, you know, there's so many out there that are just like, I hate this. I say, we're going to talk about the things we love. I think that's just a great line. I think it's one of the greatest lines in all of Star Wars. And I think that line kind of is so intrinsically tied to that character that I think that character really represents she represents love in the Star Wars universe. She's the biggest heart of all those characters. She is the biggest heart. Like you said, she comes at it emotionally. She watched her sister die. She is the heart of The Last Jedi, which is my favorite of the sequel trilogy. And I'd love to see more of the character, quite frankly. I know the director of Crazy Rich Asians had said that he would happily create a series about Rose Tico for Disney Plus. If anyone at Disney was listening to that, I would love to watch that series. So
I'd be open to that.
And I want to respond to Ambassador quick, because when I think about that line though, and I think about the idea that Johnson might not know about war or conflict, it's like, yes, you kill the enemy by requiring sacrifice, but there's part of me that just kind of wonders, and this is a hypothetical question, or more of a rhetorical question, I guess, is whether it's the bad guys ruling or the good guys coming back to, what's the point of ruling over or coming back to rubble? You still need to defend your home, you need to defend your family, you need to defend what it is that you stand for. And it's like, it's, if it becomes nothing more than a Pyrrhic victory, then it's all not quite what's the point, but definitely it's something that I think needs to be kind of more considered in a sense, I guess.
Well, yeah, exactly. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do is kind of like, at the beginning, kind of highlight some of the attributes of both characters, and then kind of come to a comparison at the end.
I have a question regarding criteria. With regards to, not on a narrative level, but with regards to content in general, will you be discussing material outside of live action material?
I was going to put that in some of my ground rules, because there's a lot of content regarding Rose Tico in the books, and not only that, but in the novelization for the Last Jedi. Oh, hey, what is happening, RJ? What's happening?
RJ,
welcome, buddy. But yeah, so dang it, dude. What I want to do is talk more about like the Star Wars on the whole, which includes like movies, comics, TV shows, which is obviously, Cara Dune's not in any of the movies, so I can't be like, oh, well, she's in the movies and she's not. That's not, that's not it. Like I said before you got here, I kind of prefer to look at Star Wars now, since there's just so much of it, the way I do with Star Trek, where you just kind of step back and look at it on the whole. You know what I mean? Don't just sit there and focus in on certain aspects of it and nitpick the living daylights out of it, which we're going to do right now with a little bit of Cara Dune. No, unfortunately, we just didn't get to see enough of Cara Dune. And I think that's the biggest problem. I mean, in the first season, she was in 2 episodes, and in the second season, like 3. I should have probably done a little more research as far as like how many episodes she's been in, but
I believe you're right. I think she was
realistically, you can say 3. Realistically, you can say 3. Technically 4, because she's in the end of like would have been chapter 14 for like 5 minutes.
The one where the ranger approaches her, right? Yeah.
Where all of that, but also where I think that it's the episode after that where the Dark Troopers take Grogu and they blow up the Razor Crest, and then because he has to go back to Navarro and say, hey, Gideon's got the kid.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But I mean, the only problem is I don't feel like she got enough chance to grow. I mean, yeah, we know she was a shock trooper. Yes, she was. She's a badass. She could fight, and that's kind of it. As far as character development. So I mean, it's like if you were to compare the two based on what development that is there, I think I've laid pretty clear why Rose Tico would be better as far as a character, having an arc and all that kind of stuff with resolution.
Right.
So okay, so I definitely understand your take on that, because like even though I really like Cara Dune, I feel like we should have got more from her as well. But for me personally, when I saw Cara Dune in both seasons of Mandalorian, even though you don't get a whole lot of backstory with her, as far as her characterization, you understand who she is as a person. You understand her motivations. She felt important when it came to helping Mando and all the other people she was working with in all the episodes. You feel like she played a significant role in that. It also brownie points that she's a badass. But I just feel like when I watch Cara, I don't feel like I'm frustrated with anything. I don't feel like anything that they written for her like felt strange or inconsistent and stuff like that, because that's what I felt with Rose. Like there was a few moments with her where I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing, but like, why are you doing that like that? With Cara, I didn't feel frustrated at all. I feel like, okay, I like this character. I understand where she is in her life. I'm following with her. I'm invested in her character, and it's like I feel like both Rose and Cara do like similar enough things where like they're interesting enough. I want to see more from them. And it's like they both of them do have their motivations, and they do have emotion. They're both interesting. But yeah, I just feel like Cara feels like a more rounded character from what we've seen from the movies. I can't say anything with the comics or novels that she was in. I haven't read any of them, so she may be more fleshed out there. But as far as judging from the movies and the show, yeah, I just feel like Kara's more of a rounded character.
Okay, and then I have a question and a statement. My question would be: you had addressed inconsistencies, or you had stated regarding inconsistencies in Rose's character, and I'd love to have you discuss that. And then my statement would be to address Ambassador's comment, like if she being Cara Dune has a moral and ethical center, and Rose just shocks people whose only crime is that they want to live instead of being killed by that idiot Holdo. I need to just establish timeline here for you, if you guys might remember Last Jedi a little bit better than I do. I don't think Finn ever directly interacted with Holdo. He was in stasis at the beginning of the film. He wakes up, realizes Rey's gone, and then tries to run and go find Rey, right?
Yeah, he has nothing. There was no interaction there.
So there wouldn't be any idea that she was going to do what she was going to do. There was no idea of any of the battle plans that Holdo was going to be taking part in. No idea that Leia was handing off the ship to Holdo. So really, more than anything else, it's kind of a moot point in a sense. And also, if you could technically argue that Rose does have a moral and ethical center, she talks about with regards to things like, for example, animal cruelty. It's a statement. The subjectivity of whether or not that should be in a Star Wars film is neither here nor there. It's just addressing the fact that we do see aspects of her morality. She has issues with Finn trying to run when she has built him up in her mind as this sort of hero of the resistance and so forth. But she definitely sees that Finn is trying to run away from the fight and what is right and what is, in her mind at least, right. Like hence a moral center of some capacity.
Yeah, I'm definitely not arguing that she doesn't have a moral center. She definitely does, but I guess I'm judging both of their characters at a different standpoint, because I do look at the bigger picture of like, okay, she has all these moral stuff. Where does it go in the concept of the story? Is there going to be a payoff? Am I going to feel more invested in this character by the time the movie is over? And honestly, even though she does have the stuff with the animal cruelty and the stuff with her sister sacrificing herself against the First Order and stuff like that, those plot points don't really stick with me. I kind of forget about them after like 10, 15 minutes, because like there's no payoff to that for me. Like those are really good plot points. Those are really interesting. Yeah. So,
and that's something you can definitely argue, because it's you're looking at it from some sort of given narrative structure and the understanding of a character arc in some capacity. You can look at Cara, you can look at that. That's just ad hominem, and like that doesn't really do anything as far as a proper logical argument. And regardless of my opinions of Johnson or Favreau, Filoni, whoever else is involved with respect to writers from The Mandalorian, it doesn't do anything.
Well, and that's what I was trying to say before.
Rose, and also saying to interrupt you there, but like also Rose had said she had shocked others trying to run. Again, trying to run from the fight.
They were committing. They were trying to desert. So
Desertion.
Like,
Right.
yeah,
I didn't have a problem with that.
No, not at all.
Logical. Yeah. That was definitely a logical thing she would have done.
Yes,
Yeah,
Getaway Rose is trashed. Please define Cara has a wooden actress. We're discussing the quality of the character, not the quality of the acting involved. So you have to look at dialogue. You have to look at potentially prose. If you're looking at the film, you have to look at the narrative structure.
Could I also point something else out? This is I saw online before The Last Jedi ever opened. The Last Jedi had not even. Do you remember they had that event where they were bringing the cast on stage? I guess it was a Star Wars celebration. Then they showed.
It would have been celebration because they do it. It would have been celebration because they do it every time. Hopefully.
I remember right after that Star Wars celebration where they brought Rose on. They brought Kelly Marie Tran on stage and they said, "This is Rose Tico. She's an important character in the movie." This movie was still over a year away, and I started reading hateful comments about her immediately on message boards.
That's crazy. And I'm thinking, which is nuts because I remember thinking, hey, cool. Kelly Marie Tran seems like a really fun and cool person. Rose, the fact that she was an engineer, to have something as a contrast to like a pilot or a Jedi or a soldier, to have someone who's involved in the fight, involved in the cause, I think is really interesting. And it was something that I actually wish was explored a little bit better. In the same way that Rey, you see, has that technological capability in The Force Awakens, which is a little bit explained more broadly in the narrative outside of the films. I would love to have seen that for Rose, because just to see, like her coming up, like, maybe them coming across like a downed ship or something like that. No, we need to pull this wire here, this here to kind of like hot wire and, get past the thing. And
kind of like a Geordie LaForge moment almost. Like, get her to experience like an engineering problem or something like that. Well, it's really funny, and I will bring up something that was in the books. She was the one that invented the cloaking technology that they used for the freighters.
I would have loved to know that.
That's what really sucks, because I read as soon as that movie came out.
Novelization?
That's in the novelization.
Why
the novelization?
Why would? And again, we're not discussing novelization versus film. I have my own opinions on that, and I do love the sequels. I do love all of them.
No, I will add that as a caveat, though, because it's like there's a lot more to the character.
There's more. We physically have more consume. We have the films. We have the novelizations of those films, which expand. We have more than one comic which feature Rose, more than one novel which feature Rose, right? So. And that's really interesting. And I'm going to quickly answer. Whisper, whatever happened to the Force-sensitive orphans in Last Jedi? We don't know. The other orphans outside of Tamiri Blag were Force-sensitive.
Yeah, the only one we know of is the one kid.
And B, we just physically don't know.
They didn't expand upon it, unfortunately, in the second one. This is a poorly crafted character. Okay, that was another thing, because we talked about this in another group chat that I'm in last night. I might have made the faux pas of saying that dialogue doesn't matter. Well, I suppose what I was trying to say is, when it comes to a Star Wars movie and the prequels exist, I'm not going to put so much weight in dialogue. So much
we never should have.
It's kind of to use a biblical comparison, that Brian and myself, and maybe to an extent Ambassador will know. It's the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, right? What is the dialogue trying to get across? Maybe if the words or the performance aren't exactly,
there,
what we would write.
What's the overall story?
What is Johnson? What is Abrams? What is Lucas? Whoever trying to say with their script?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's what we would consider to be wokeness involved in the characters. But I mean, they were saying a lot of the detractors that later became supporters of Cara Dune said the same thing about her.
The best thing that ever happened to Cara Dune was the actress getting fired. Would all the fandom Menace people have rallied behind her?
No.
They would have been like, "What? A female? We don't want that." They liked her because she got fired and she became a talking point.
Yeah, and
You
then,
guys know Leia was a thing, right? Leia was the
Right, yeah,
in Star Wars. She was the original feminist before feminist was a popular
and
statement.
I don't.
Like, come on,
Also, I
bro.
don't see the argument with regards to, but my thing is, I'm not sure whether it's not just because I've kind of either my Overton window has shifted, right? But I do have that wondering of like, was it as woke as you think it was? You know, like was there direct like expression of those things, like of
Have we,
whatever broad woke politic thing that you can discuss?
TW? I don't mean to interrupt you, but have
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. We've done, over the last several months, we've been on many streams. Have I ever told you my opinion on the word woke?
I would imagine it's become I don't think so, but I would imagine it's about as useless and sort of
I really think woke is a code word for saying I hate women. Like when you hear
Oh,
people
I think
say
you did say
that's
that at one
woke,
point,
it's
maybe.
just it's I can't say I hate women, so I'll say it's woke, because you never hear it in a positive. You never hear someone say, "Oh, did you see that movie? It was really good. It was nice and woke. I really liked it. It was very woke." It's just become
Well, like
a throwaway negative term for there's girls in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mhm.
Ambassador, so is Anakin's. I sent you a DM, dude. You're more than welcome to come
what was
on.
the other
Okay,
thing?
I'm
But no,
about to.
that's sort of you could argue, Brian, that is a bit of a too quick way. You can look at Rose's dialogue being dreadful while also separately looking at the quote unquote dreadfulness of Anakin's dialogue. I'm just
Okay,
saying that
let's
just to kind
call
of
it how it
just
is.
to try and keep a little bit of the sort of semblance of what I mean. Like I'm trying to
Okay,
be a little bit
let's just
logical in the
let's
sense
just
of
call
that.
it how it is. The original trilogy, the prequels, and the sequel trilogy have bad dialogue. All of them do. At
I
one
believe
point or
they do.
another.
It's just kind of what what do you define as bad dialogue? B, what, like when you're looking at a quantity of dialogue. Because I think honestly, one of the best things that Lucas did was having other guys. Hope to see you soon, Ambassador. I can't wait to continue the conversation because it is really interesting. Was the fact that Lucas hired other writers to help him out with the sequels. He had Lawrence Kasdan for the
Yeah.
originals, I mean, which I think was very helpful. And then he decided to write and direct and produce, well, write and direct at least, the prequels himself, which I think was a problem. I think I'm not saying that you can't have a sort of an auteur-esque vision on something, but I also think that you need to have you got to have someone you can pass this off to, and you need to have. And I think that's the necessity of a good producer to be able to kind of with a record, with a script, with whatever, to be able to kind of put the foot down and say no.
For the record, you can blame that on Ron Howard. It was Lucas's plan to have Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, and Spike Jonze direct the prequel trilogy. And he approached Ron Howard about directing episode 1, and Ron Howard talked him into directing it and said, "No, this is your vision. You should direct it."
Same thing with Spielberg, because like he was like, "I want you to direct it," but Spielberg was like, "No, this is your thing, man. I don't want to touch it." I'm like, no, do it, do it.
Wasn't there other issues though? Like there was a reason why.
I don't doubt there was.
Well, no, Richard Marquand had to direct the movie. Well, not had to, but the reason why he couldn't get Spielberg for Return of the Jedi is because he quit the Directors Guild earlier that year.
Legally within the union contracts, he couldn't do it. That's why he couldn't get Spielberg or anybody else, because Marquand was a non-union director.
Yep.
That's why he got him.
And it was all because he put his credits at the end of the movie.
Which is so funny because it's like it basically is now the goal. It's once
everybody
again
does now. Like
everyone does that. Yes.
And what else is so funny about that? Like not funny, but like it's funny that was what happened. But also on a tragic note, the other reason we didn't get Marquand for the prequels or any of the prequels was the fact that Richard Marquand sadly died not too long after making Return of the Jedi, which is really unfortunate. Which is because I think Return of the Jedi, I think is, and I also give credit to the cinematographer. I need to find out who the cinematographer was on Jedi, because I think they did a great job. It's my favorite. It's my favorite with regards to photography of the original trilogy. Even though Empire is my favorite. Yeah, I just think Empire is great, but just something about the way the composition of the shots, something about the color, something about the contrast, something about it just is very pleasing to me as a watcher. Not that
I
Empire
agree.
isn't, but for whatever reason, it's just kind of it's just number one. I think it could also help with script. It could help with the context of what the scene is trying to convey. I mean, I think because it is so much more tense and it's kind of everything's kind of coming to a boil at the end of that film. Thank you,
Finally,
Hervoye.
someone's speaking my language because it's
Thank
my
you,
favorite.
Hervoye.
Star Wars.
Alan Hume was the DOP on Return of the Jedi.
That
If
explains.
we're talking about people, I do want to get another crack at Star Wars. Even if people don't want Johnson back, I would like to see. I want to make sure I'm getting his name right. I believe it's Steve Yeltsin, I believe his name is.
Steve Yeltsin.
Steve Yetlin, that's his name. He was the
yeah.
director of photography for The Last Jedi.
He did
That
phenomenal.
movie, if we're talking composition of photography for the entire saga, for me, number one.
Yeah.
It took a long time to craft
beautifully
something.
shot. Like,
I think honestly, when it comes to the top three, in my opinion, are The Last Jedi, then probably it's either Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith.
I put Rogue One in there too. I thought cinematography that was
I'm talking Skywalker Saga, but yes, Rogue One is fantastically shot.
For the record, no matter what the trolls want, Rian Johnson will definitely be back. I mean, not only is his trilogy still on, but
canceled it.
He made the second highest grossing Star Wars film of all time. Disney is not going to look at that kind of a success and say, well, some online trolls didn't like him. Doesn't work that way. They go where the money is. He made money for them. And then he went on to do a movie that was nominated for an Oscar.
Exactly. Maybe take on maybe Johnson can take on like a High Republic trilogy or something like that, to where it's
that's an interesting comment. If what Hervoye says is true, that's really awesome. Rogue One is inspired by like Yugoslav war films, because that's really interesting. Just to have such a different perspective on it, I guess, because the cinematic language of Star Wars is so built into the Second World War. I mean, we talk about like the political aspects being tied to Vietnam, but like photographically, cinematically, it's so typed into World War II. I mean, literally, Lucas used World War II film dogfight scenes as blueprints for at least A New Hope.
Well, he spliced it in for the effects team to have something to reference.
Exactly, literally called the what's it called? Literally called the minions, called the sort of the ground troops, stormtroopers. Yes, many aspects of Vince, many aspects of the Galactic Empire were inspired by the Third Reich, along with other influences like Lucas's strange, opinion about. Well, not a strange opinion, but his what if about the Empire, which was
there was a lot of Vietnam allegory there too.
Exactly. Well, like that was the one thing that I think is mentioned. I'm not sure where it was mentioned. It could have been in the one of the forewords for one of the novelizations. But talking about how the Emperor as a character, yes, how the Empire came into being, was Lucas asking the question of himself: what if Nixon had found a way to circumvent the term limit laws of the U.S. a la Watchmen, and basically stay in power till his death, and then apply that into a science fiction, science fantasy context, and that's how you got the Empire.
That
along with a bunch of other things. But anyways, we're going rather off our discussion here.
How cool would it have been? Like, how cool would it be if when season 3 of Mandalorian, and it's like there's an episode that everyone's really enjoying, and then at the end you see directed by Rian Johnson.
Oh, I would love it. Oh my god, it would be the best thing in the world.
He's been in talks already. He's been in talks to do a Mandalorian. The only thing holding him up is the Knives Out sequels.
You know, it'd be really funny though, is if you got a trilogy of episodes of the Mandalorian.
Oh, you got him 3 times.
So, you're like, oh, you got your Rian Johnson trilogy on the Mandalorian. It's like, oh, so how could you love it and then hate it all at the same time? Heads would explode.
It's like, you can't lie to yourself. You enjoyed that episode, right? Well, you did it. That was
right. Rian Johnson's not the worst director. Oh, damn.
Wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute. So we're having a discussion about Rian Johnson directing 3 more movies and then 3 episodes in Mandalorian season 3. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
The trifecta. It's like a hat trick of movies.
Yeah,
for my friends north of the border.
What? Say that again. What?
It's like a
What
hat
did
trick.
you say?
I said
Oh,
That's a hockey term.
for my friends
Like,
north of the border.
buddy. You can just go and take off with that. Like, you don't need to bring the Canadians back into the conversation here. We're already here. Nous sommes ici. We're right here.
No, that's great.
I have to be bilingual. I'm sorry. So
That's
that
all
way,
good.
it's the law.
That's
Not
all right.
really. Not really. It's just
The stop signs were off-putting, but I'm used to
Oh,
English.
and in Quebec, yes.
Quebec, yeah.
Like, oh god, like it's like they're the same shape, but it just says arrêt instead of stop, and I'm just like, I know that means stop. I know it's trying to tell me to stop, but just for whatever reason, because I do speak French, but for whatever reason, it's just not clicking in my brain. You know what I mean?
Oh, Red Letter Media shitting on the prequels.
And
Yeah, well,
Whisper asking an interesting question: can anything be canon if it's not written by Lucas? Well, what do you define as canon, right? And I'm not saying that in some sort of subjective snap way. I'm saying like you have to ask the question: do you define it as Lucasfilm? Like, do you define it as whoever owns Lucasfilm making Star Wars? Because if it's only George Lucas being directly involved to make Star Wars, that's literally 6 films and Clone Wars.
yeah.
He sold it.
That's it.
He can't.
Yeah.
He has no legal right to say what is and isn't canon anymore.
That is true.
See, and that's kind of where I had my issues with like the Doomcock thing, because he did this whole video explaining about the rules of canon and what's going on, and this, it's only cut from the creator, and I'm like, buddy,
Well,
let's bring it in here for a
DC would
second.
like a word.
Disney.
No, DC would like a word, but
Perfect
Disney
example.
Look at Disney too.
No.
Well.
Star Trek. Okay. Arguably, some of the most popular Star Trek to
Was
the
not made by
wider audience had
Was
nothing to do with Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
could.
Gene hated
main
Wrath of
people you
Khan.
the main people, yeah, but I'm saying, but the main people that you can thank, I think, for a lot of this stuff, because I do like a lot of Deep Space Nine. I like a lot of
Harv Bennett, Michael Pillar,
oh my
Bluebeard,
gosh,
Ira Stephen
yeah.
Bear,
Brandon Braga,
Ron Moore,
Robert
you can thank those
Wolf.
guys.
yeah, Robert Hewitt Wolf.
Yep.
I mean, I think half of those guys write for the
And
Orville
also-
now, but
Actually, I don't think they write for the Orville right now. I think the Orville is just recycling scripts they wrote 30 years ago, and that's why their names are.
That's actually kind of funny.
Because
Now,
every
one of the-
Orville episode has been done on Star Trek already.
no, that's very true.
One thing I'm interested though in, one thing I would be interested in, or I am interested in because they announced it at the Disney Investor Day last year, is Ron Moore is doing an adaptation for Disney Plus of the Swiss Family Robinson.
Interesting.
Yes, I was like, because I watched the whole thing because I'm like, what
forgot about
is
that
going on? And yes, when we return to conversation, yes, rest in peace to the GOAT, Norm Macdonald, Turd Ferguson, wherever you
Oh
are.
my God!
I joke about Turd Ferguson, but Norm Macdonald was incredibly funny, and I'm sorry I missed your stream on the subject, Joe. Because
Oh, dude, do you know how my stream on the subject ended?
I do know how's everything going.
Last Tuesday was not a good day for me. We got the news Norm died. I'm a huge Norm fan. I see him every time he comes to Philly. I was heartbroken. I was devastated all day. And I'm doing my stream memorializing Norm. And, normally I go for an hour.
Uh-oh. Where did he go?
Wow.
No, but
Where did
yeah.
he go?
Okay, I thought that was me again, but yeah, we'll wait till see if
Hello,
Joe
Joe,
comes
my
back
old
in there.
friend. I'd love to talk with you again.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, Joe.
I hear you, bud.
Hey.
Yeah, so I got a half hour into my stream, my Norm Macdonald memorial stream, when my wife told me, the cat isn't breathing right. And and our cat passed that same night. So we lost Norm and our cat on the exact same night.
That sucks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. So, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry to bring the
Star
Wars.
Wars.
No, hey, it's life, and but yes, it is. But just I think talking about this stuff, I think is one thing that not that it makes things better, but I think it's just it kind of gets you into a little bit of a different headspace,
Well, it's better for perspective. It gives you a different
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I think it all depends on the lens that we use to watch things through. I feel like a lot of there's a multitude of reasons as to why The Last Jedi was received the way it was. And to add more to that, I would like to welcome to the stream our most esteemed guest, Mr. Ambassador.
Greetings,
Gentlemen.
All right. So, well, we've basically been kind of gushing over Rose Tico and not necessarily, diminishing Cara Dune or anything like that. Just more along the lines of just appreciating both characters, as it were. Okay, so one thing I want to get over before we start, and I wanted to reiterate it a little bit. We're going to try to do ourselves a favor and set aside our dislike for that one particular movie and just focus on like the character and kind of what she means to the overall Star Wars story, and not just, we didn't like The Last Jedi kind of situation. Does that make any sense? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of it is that as far as significant battles that Rose has fought in, she fought in the Battle of Crate and she fought in the Battle of Exegol. There's a lot of critique. Oh, hey, Cylon. We're talking about Rose Tico from everyone's favorite Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. Heck yeah. And thanks for coming, buddy.
Anyone else hungry for toast?
Oh, man. I got to move that poster. My Cylon poster's over here. But it's the evolution. So it starts with a toaster and then the Caprica vacuum cleaner, because everybody's got to watch that. Okay.
Caprica is excellent.
I loved Caprica. That was a good show.
I could watch Caprica morning, noon, and night, and I'd much rather watch it than anything Rian Johnson's ever created. Because at least it was competently written and made. It was just canceled way too soon.
You didn't like Knives Out? Knives Out was good.
I would rather have one of the heads from Ellis Easter Island drop on my head than watch that movie ever again.
Wow. I did not expect that.
And anyone else? Okay. I don't want to be insulted by one of those heads and called Dum Dum. Does anyone else want Gum Gum?
I actually get that reference, and I love that reference.
I get that reference too.
Museum,
and that was a good movie.
Night Museum is a million times superior to anything that Rian Johnson will ever make in his life.
It sounds personal with you, Ambassador.
No, it's not personal.
To quote the platonic hippie, that's just your opinion, man.
That would be.
Hang on.
Would be the dude.
Oh no! I got you covered. Here we go.
Well, that's just your opinion, man.
Yeah. Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, and like buttholes, everyone has an opinion.
Hey guys, I had to step away for a second. How did we get on the topic of Caprica?
Cylon showed up. It's like Cylon Scotty showed up. I made a joke about toast.
I mentioned my Cylon poster.
Brian was talking about his Caprica poster, and we were talking about how good the show was. Well, they were. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty
TW. Decent. You're robbing yourself of a great experience. It's a far more pleasurable experience.
It's not on any platform right now, right?
Isn't
anything Rian Johnson will ever create in his life.
Is it on Peacock?
Actually, it might be on Peacock.
Up here for me, BSG Make is on Prime, so maybe Caprica is as well.
It might be. Yes.
Let's see here. Yeah, it's on. It's on NBC actually, not Peacock.
I don't
Well,
understand
Peacock is
NBC.com. Why don't they just put everything on Peacock and streamline it?
I don't know that.
It's the
That
same
is
thing
a-
with Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers is on NBC, but it's not on Peacock. What the heck?
DC
Oh.
Universe, HBO
Yes.
Max. I don't know, man.
Interesting factoid, Joe. I actually purchased. It's available in the public domain, by the way. If you guys want to find it, it is available in the public domain. But I wanted to buy a physical thing for myself, so I bought it for $10 off Amazon. I own physically the 2 novellas that introduced the world to Buck Rogers back in the 1920s.
Oh wow.
TW, how is it that you can have great taste in science fiction like that and like The Last Jedi? What's wrong with your brain,
Last
man?
Jedi, Star Wars is not science fiction; it is science fantasy. They are 2 different genres. As such, it's definitely not the same category.
Also, Last Jedi is just so fracking good.
Wrong franchise.
Yes, but
Let's put it
I like the
this
reference.
way: if Ryan Johnson existed in the BSG universe, he'd be dead in 5 seconds. He would.
Oh.
Guy's Baltar lasted longer than Ryan Johnson would.
Just a quick
Ryan
catch up.
Johnson would
I am
go,
holding
"Ooh,
on."
that's a pretty explosion." If he'd be incinerated, while
Ooh.
everybody else is like, "Run
So
What was the thing I was thinking of?
lives."
You know
he
what
would
I
have
think?
gone down in the mini movie, huh?
You know what I think? I think Michael Trucco. This could sound a little funny. I don't know. Like, you know, they cast Zach Levi to play Kurt Warner.
Yeah, I want to see that actually.
I think I could see Michael Trucco playing Tom Brady.
There you go.
For those who don't know, we're talking like Long Shot from Battlestar Galactica. You know what's the funniest thing when I made that joke one day? I'm like, man, I could see him playing Tom Brady. What is the name of the pyramid team that Long Shot plays for? The Buccaneers. I was like, they knew it. Ron Moore could see the future.
They're picking it. Well, right on.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll get close to kind of wrapping it up in about 15 minutes or so. Hopefully, I didn't cut into Metaverse's stream too long.
Hey guys, I gotta apologize. I gotta run. But thanks for letting me stop by.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Not a problem. Take care, Joe.
Absolutely, bud. Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you, Joe.
There you go.
You too.
And speaking of discussions of canon relating to something that is dropping later tonight on Disney Plus via CNET, I'm getting this tweet from Culture Crave. This is via an interview with CNET. Star Wars Vision's producer Kanako Shirasaki has confirmed the show is not canon, and producer James Waugh, WAUGH, says there are currently no plans to integrate them into canon, but he has, quote, no doubt that we will see things that were in Visions become part of the fabric of Star Wars over the next decades, which is fine. I mean, like, it's what they're doing with they're doing with Legends material now, you know.
Yeah.
Which
I'm honestly completely okay with Visions not being canon.
Which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with it not being canon too. And I always said the one thing for me is as long as they delineate with some sort of, whether it's a watermark, like a watermark or a subtitle or something, just to say like Legends that this isn't canon. Long as they say that on whatever piece of media you're consuming, I'm more than happy for it.
Oh, yes. You want them to have like a label like DC and Marvel just to
well, like how they have like Elseworlds and yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted. Like that's just me.
That could probably make things a little bit more clear.
Man, I don't know.
I will say this. I was listening to Star Wars Only, his stream from last night with Lunga and Goldman and Papa Memes, I think is the guy's name, and they asked a very good question. Since Disney's buyout or purchase of Lucasfilm, had there been more good decisions than bad decisions made on the part of the leadership at Lucasfilm? I have to, and this is something I said in a comment to that stream. I believe that there were several bad decisions made, but here's the good thing from that. they've seen the bad decisions that they made and they have corrected for them, and now we are getting good Star Wars content.
Yeah. We are getting more good Star Wars content, and I really like that. And the other thing that I love is the fact that one of the best things, the best decision that I think Lucasfilm has done was a decision to not do something. And for me, that was the decision to not renew Electronic Arts' exclusivity agreement. I have no issue with EA. I have no issue with EA Star Wars games. I have an issue with EA being the only publisher to put out Star Wars games. That's my issue.
I agree.
Because we got Fallen Order. A lot of people really love Squadrons. Battlefront 2 took immense strides. It had sort of a No Man's Sky-esque revival, and
I agree.
The mods are just cool. Like there's one mod that I thought was the coolest, and God knows I hope that's Lucasfilm DMs the person or gives them a little contract or something to purchase the concept. Was the design for Finn as a Jedi. Like it was John Boyega shared it on his Instagram story one day where it's Finn in like a sort of modified outfit with a green lightsaber, and I'm like, I love that design.
I actually gave him a sapphire blue lightsaber in my story.
He's getting green in mine, so
Hey, cool.
I'll make it purple. Fuck it.
Well, actually, no,
John
because
Boyega,
here's the thing.
John Boyega said he wanted a purple lightsaber as far as he being John Boyega, not Finn.
To answer this question here, Vince, that's such a tough one. Because without canon, there's like not meaning, I suppose.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like there's like a fine balance, you know what I mean? In terms of importance of canon. The problem with my only issue with Legends is that certain stories from Legends are all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like that was the other problem is the one of the major issues was coming into the first massive wave of Legends material. I run the private chat just so I can discuss the tier system later. But with the first wave of Legends material, even though Legends was never canon, the one thing that the Star Wars, like basically the Bantam and Del Rey stuff in the 90s were told was don't talk about the Clone Wars, not because there was a problem with it, but because Lucas was going to do it in the prequels, which is why you get tiny little references to it in Heir to the Empire and in Dark Empire and in this and that, and they're nothing like the movies. Like if you look at the descriptions in the Thrawn trilogy of the Clone Wars, they don't match up with what we got.
That's true.
I think that the simplest way. Oh, go ahead, bud.
The cloning technology that is described in the Thrawn trilogy is completely different from what we get from the Clone Wars and now from Bad Batch. It wasn't stuff that was taken from Camino because at the time Camino didn't exist when Timothy Zahn wrote the Thrawn trilogy. It was simply technology that the Emperor or the Empire had at his disposal, and he had hidden away on Wayland, and that was being guarded opposite by the clone of Jorah Sobayoth. And I have to say, I know everybody focuses on Thrawn. I love Thrawn as a character, but I thought Jorah Sobayoth was a really interesting character. I never had the chance to read Outbound Flight, but I'm going to try and figure out a way to get my hands on a copy. Yeah. But to kind of get back to I do want to address James's comment, and then if you guys want to chime in.
Yeah, no, I was gonna give a quick one. It's like,
go ahead, Brian.
It's basically like what's in the Bible, canon.
Bingo.
It's the simplest explanation I could possibly give to you.
A, that we got the term from. B, it's not exactly, it's one-to-one, but it's also like a perfect example of how canon can mean different things to different people, because there are books in the Catholic Bible that are not in Protestant Bibles,
and they've been misinterpreted throughout the years.
But when it comes to canon in a fictional context, The best way to describe it that I can think of is the company producing the content, the company producing whatever franchise it is, has an internal narrative that they are doing their best to maintain of logical consistency. That is what we determine as canon. That is what is determined by the company as canon. Each individual can determine in their own minds what they believe to be part of their own set of stories within that franchise in their own minds. That's where the term quote-unquote headcanon comes from. Hopefully that's a bit of a better explanation than what we've had, because he was talking about how kind of nebulous the definition is online for that.
It kind of
It
is.
is.
Well,
And it's because of the
when you're
head.
trying to
It's because of
define it.
headcanon. Headcanon really kind of
Yes.
muddies the waters up. Really.
But I think once you have, and I think that's why you kind of need, regardless of people's opinion on the specific material, why you kind of occasionally need something like Story Group to assert itself, because you need to have at least a logical consistency within your world.
Yeah.
And so basically the way the franchise is told, yes, by the company, that's the way that I would interpret it myself, Jane. But the other thing that I thought about was, like I said, the beautiful thing about Legends is, like I said, the way that they're kind of bringing things in that were cool, and they've been doing this for forever, like when it comes to Legends not being canon but kind of being interpreted and introduced in certain ways into canon, go all the way back to the Phantom Menace. Before the Phantom Menace, in the films, the capital of the Empire never had a name. And even Lucas never had a name for himself. He kind of called it Empire City, was basically the thing. Where did they get the name for the capital planet of the Republic? From Heir to the Empire.
Legends.
Or from Dark Force, I think it was specifically Dark Force Rising. Was Timothy Zahn came up with the name for Coruscant.
Yes, I believe that's right.
You go all the way back
Because
to
that's
that,
the first.
you've got
Yeah.
Boba Fett being in The Empire Strikes Back after being in the holiday special. You've got
Wasn't Kashyyyk something like that too? Where
Kashyyyk was also, I believe, named in the holiday special, but was never named in the films.
Yeah.
So there's that. The Blurgs being from, I believe it's the Battle for Endor, being introduced into the Clone Wars, and then later on, obviously, the Mandalorian. But there's so many little things, even all the way up to the present, with the crazy twist reveal we got at the end of Bad Batch, which blew my mind, because it wasn't even referenced in the episode. You had to go to StarWars.com, and it's listed in the concept art name. That planet is Wayland. That is Mount Tantus, which is the old cloning facility in the Thrawn trilogy. And I'm just like, dude.
And everybody hates on the Bad Batch. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, if you
Well,
saw my
freaking
review on
love
my
it.
channel, I was
Who
like,
hates on it?
Here's the-
hey, it's
Well, I think it's. Well, I know you think. Would I be correct in assuming kind of doesn't live up to the hype in your opinion, but it doesn't live up to the hate in your opinion as well? I have to sit down and watch the
Yes.
stream still.
Yeah, that's how it is. I don't hate
honestly,
the Bad Batch, but it's
for-
just
for
That's what I
me-
felt about Last Jedi. That's what I
Yeah,
felt
it's like
about Last
Last
Jedi.
Jedi. I'm
They
in the
called.
middle.
They called, and it's not because I think the film was mediocre. I think it's actually quite good. But it's the fact that everybody on both sides called this film everything but a child of God. So I said, you know what, forget this. I'm going to go see it myself. And I walked out, and I'm like, hey, it didn't suck. It was out of the three, it was the only one I saw in cinemas once. But
I
that
legit
was
cried
more.
when I watched the movie.
I got a little broken up myself. It was a very emotional.
Twice.
It had its resonance to me, and I loved. If you want to talk about a perfect example of how a novelization can amplify a film, look at the quote for that scene. Do you know the quote I'm talking about?
No, because I never read the book.
It ended.
I was wondering.
The quote about Luke Skywalker's death. It ended as it began, looking out at two suns before taking a step into a larger world.
Yeah.
Now that was one of the parts
Honestly,
that got me, and then the other
one of
part
the-
was the dice with
Oh.
Leia.
That was
And
kind
that was purely because she had
loved-
passed away the year before, or
I loved the
before.
moment. I loved that moment though, where Luke wants to just pour his heart out, and it's his sister, and he felt that he failed her in so many ways, and she says, "I know what you're gonna say. I changed my hair. And I'm like, that was a Carrie Fisher line, by the way, which I love. It was so sweet and so simple, and it's like,
great.
it was a perfect kind of example of one of the great things about that film. And I think there are a lot of great moments in that film as well.
You know, here's the thing, and just full transparency here. I saw Last Jedi. I saw Last Jedi twice. The first time I saw it, I walked out with my wife and one of my closest friends from high school, and we were all blown away. Absolutely blown away. We were thrilled. We were excited. And we went to see it Christmas Day with my wife and my mother. But a few days after I had seen it the first time, something had been sticking in my mind like a splinter. Yes, a quote from The Matrix. I love that movie. And it was just bugging the bugging the ever loving crap out of me. And when we walked out of it the second time, the missus looked at me. She's like, "Honey, what's wrong?" And I was like, "I've had this thing in my head that's been bothering me about this movie, and now I know what it is." And she's like, "What is it?" I was like, "They completely wrecked the universe. I was like, Johnson just does not understand how this universe is structured or how it functions, much less how these characters are meant to function and how they're structured." And you know, my critique of it stands as it is. I think is an absolutely abominable film. If you all like it, that is fine. I still consider you a fan. Your fan card is not rejected if you are a Star Wars fan. You love The Last Jedi. But myself, it has been one of the motivations for why I am writing this 3-part fan fiction. And because I want to tell the story that I was hoping to see, that has more depth and more ability than a guy who clearly doesn't know this universe and clearly doesn't love it. I'm sorry, I don't see Johnson as a Star Wars fan. I see him as a provocateur who tried to take a pot shot at making a movie that he was woefully under-equipped and under-talented to do so. I know that's exceedingly harsh, but Star Wars is a franchise that is dear to my heart. And I will never lay eyes on that movie ever again. Y'all want to watch it, more power to you. But as far as Rose Tico goes, she was a woefully underdeveloped character created by a creative that was out of his depth. Now, if he wants to go off and make half a dozen Knives Out films, great. Go do so. Go do your thing, man. And with my blessing, quote unquote. But I will have nothing more to do with anything he makes.
Yeah.
I know that may be very, very over the top, but like I said, that second viewing just completely and utterly told me everything that I needed to know about why I didn't like this movie.
I was going to ask you though, how many YouTube videos did you watch in between your first and second viewing?
To be perfectly transparent, 0.
Okay, because I know that might have a bit of influence in one's opinion.
0.
I know. After the first time I watched it, what's that, Dion?
Go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, because that kind of affected at first how I felt, because it was even more of a roller coaster with me, because the first time I saw The Last Jedi, I was confused. I didn't know how to feel about it. And then I watched this movie almost 15 times. So just to be clear, I know there's some people like, how dare you even stomach more than one viewing? But I was so confused about this movie. I was in a conflict. I wouldn't say it's necessarily Phantom menacing, because like the problems with that movie was like more apparent in that. But it's like with this, for me, because like at first I was confused, And then I watched a couple YouTube videos like them analyzing it, and then I ended up hating it. And then I watched other people that I know that like The Last Jedi. I watched it with them and I talked with them. I was like, okay, well, maybe I kind of like it now. And then I watched it a few more times by myself with no one's viewpoint on it, and I'm like, okay, I'm still in the middle on this, because that's how I'm feeling. Like, there's, as I said before, I personally feel like Rian Johnson does have somewhat of an understanding of what Star Wars is, but at the same time, I feel like he has his own personal agenda or his own idea of what he wants to do with the Star Wars universe, and I don't feel like he's taken as much care about what came before. And the fact I do think some of his ideas are really interesting, and it shakes up the universe that I feel like the Star Wars franchise does need, because even though The Force Awakens is personally my favorite of the sequel trilogy, we've seen most of that stuff that's done before. Like, they're playing it safe, and to be fair, that's probably the right route for them to do, because the prequels made a lot of people mad. So it's like, I understand why they did, but it's like, I feel like with some of Rian Johnson's decisions, I feel like, okay, this is an interesting direction to go that's different. But I feel the problem is he doesn't commit to some of his decisions in the movie, and it feels like, and I understand why there's people that hate this movie that feel like he's just messing with the fans, being like, playing with your expectations, being like, I know what you expect from this franchise, but I'm going to turn it on your head just to get a reaction out of people. I understand why people think that. I don't necessarily feel that's 100% what he's trying to do, but it's just like, I feel like they shouldn't have let Rian Johnson do whatever he wanted. I feel like he needed someone like a Lucas or even JJ, because he had an outline of what the 3 movies were supposed to be, but he was allowed to do whatever he wanted. But it's just like, if Rian Johnson just committed to some of the decisions he made in this movie, I feel like people would have been more accepting to it, and like, they wouldn't have had to play it so safe again with The Rise of Skywalker and be like, oh, we're going to give you these best hits again because The Last Jedi was just so controversial, whatever. So it's just like, it's weird, because I don't fully hate what Rian Johnson did, but at the same time, like, you need to go through a couple more rewrites before doing this. Like,
Yeah. No, I think an overall steward of the franchise would probably be a lot, from a narrative direction, would have helped out a lot, as far as that's concerned.
I do want to address. I know you're wanting to wrap up, Brian.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I do want to address Megapodtastic. I think was that crazy? Is that crazy, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Joe. I'll try to encapsulate this very succinctly. I felt that the Rose and Finn, and I know this is something that a lot of other people have said, but I think it comes down to, and no, I didn't. Here's the thing. I don't necessarily need a movie to be safe for me to be invested in it. I don't mind a movie that takes risks, but the risks need to be grounded in the universe in which they take place in. For me, I would have much rather had the whole part, or at least had the section with Rose and Finn trimmed down significantly, and had more time with Rey and Luke exploring what happened to make Luke the way he is now. For me, that's the part that just completely broke the movie from my perspective. I don't mind if you want to play with Luke Skywalker in the way that he did, but you need to explain it better. And you going in and doing backfill with comic books and all this other stuff, that's not the way to do it. You can tell that story within the context of the film itself. Tell us why Luke has decided to be the last Jedi. Why he refuses. What caused him to break? And don't just have it be a couple of throwaway lines. Show us. Don't just tell us. And that, for me, was the biggest issue. If you want to have Luke be in the place that he is in, okay, fine. But establish why he's there on Octu, and don't have it be disconnected. Have him go to Octu to try and be a better Jedi Master and realize I need to change up what I'm doing, and have him come to the realization, or maybe have him even be somewhat corrupted
I think I figured
by the
crux of your
darkness,
argument, though.
by the darkness that exists on Octu.
I think
That for
I
me
think
is
what
the
it
issue.
is you don't see Luke as a character that would give up.
No, I don't mind if Luke gives up, but give me a
No,
good
I'm just like that, and you don't agree with why he gave up.
No, it's not even that he gave up. Give me a good reason why. I don't care about Rose and Finn's little adventure. Trim that down to like 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be nearly as long as it does. Honestly, you could completely remove that whole part of the movie and just have it be focused on Rey and Luke. Have it be focused on her. I mean, if she's the focus of this movie, have it be focused on her. And we barely got any time with her. That's why I have poured so much time into this, my own story, fleshing out time with her and Luke, and with Finn and Luke, and with the Force Ghosts and everything else. That's what I wanted to see. That's the story that I wanted to see on a screen and being told by somebody who wants to give us a decent narrative about why this hero that has been an icon of science fiction and science fantasy and pop culture for 40 plus years has become dejected and broken and alone. And all we get is next to nothing. That for me is what broke The Last Jedi. We don't get any explanation as to why Luke Skywalker, the man who risked his neck,
we did, but you just don't like the explanation, bud. Like,
no, the explanation was not well executed, and it wasn't fleshed out, Brian. That's my point.
I think it was totally. I disagree, bud.
I have a question. If you kept the narrative, the timeline itself, that Luke decided to end the Jedi because he saw how badly things can go wrong if he or any other Jedi Master fails. If you kept everything as in that timeline the same, what changes? What would you change with regards to exposition, with regards to scenes included in the film? What would you change if you feel that the explanation was fine? If you feel that the explanation was fine, what would you change? Go ahead.
Can I address that? Can I address that real quick?
Please.
I feel very similar to how Ambassador feels, because as I said before, Rian Johnson has some really good ideas here, but the way it's executed, it just doesn't feel right. One of my biggest criticisms was Luke and his reasoning of why he decided to leave the Jedi. It is my problem. I don't have a problem with him failing or feeling like he failed everyone. He's running away and he wants the Jedi to end. I was going with that. I thought, oh, that's really interesting because these are stuff that these are seeds that they were planting in the prequels, being like the way of the Jedi is not as good as people think it is. So I'm like, okay, we're going to add on top of that. But what broke the camel's back in The Last Jedi was, for me, you probably don't agree with this, Master, but this is what hit me when he made the abrupt decision to kill his nephew in his sleep because he saw visions in his head. Yeah, Luke would not go to that drastic of a place because we've seen in the previous movies. I know you're about to disagree, Brian, but just let me hear me out. Because before that point, when he was dealing with stuff with his father, being the most powerful Sith Lord in the galaxy, when he's responsible
second most
for
powerful,
but that's
second
most powerful. Yeah, right. You're right.
It's okay, TL. Go ahead.
Yeah, the fact that he had to deal with his father being one of the most powerful dictators in the entire galaxy, that he's responsible for murders and all this other stuff, but he still went out of his way to try to save his father. So the fact that that type of care wasn't even attempted with his nephew felt very mean-spirited. Now, 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 what would have made that a whole lot better? Would have made it a whole lot better is if we actually saw Luke trying to make Ben better. You know, like he senses the evil in him, but he's trying to figure out ways to, get it out of him. But Snoke's in his head constantly; he can't get it out. And then it got to the point where Ben, killed all the Jedi or whatever at the temple that they created.
Here,
what would be more impactful is if Luke tried his hardest to help Ben, but he failed anyway. That would have hit a whole lot more than him just being like, oh, I'm going to try and fix the problem, even though I don't know exactly the context of what's going on. Luke doesn't go to that length. I mean, you probably could have questioned that in The New Hope and in Empire Strikes Back, but in Return of the Jedi, he's grown a lot as a character and as a Jedi. So up to that point, he should know better not to make drastic decisions. This is the same decisions that Anakin did when he was young, making these abrupt decisions without thinking clearly. So for Luke doing the same thing when we know he knows better than that, that feels like a slap in the face to this character. When there's could have been other ways to show that he failed without him making those drastic decisions. If he failed, if he tried his best and still failed, that would have hit a whole lot more for people, in my opinion.
I agree.
Can I just... What's up, everybody? Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
To that, I see what you're saying, but I think for a general audience member, I would say, yeah, you're right. But I think if you know Star Wars, then you know the Skywalker saga is about family, and it's about, part of, I think, the added beauty of that is with the sequel trilogy is making the mistakes of your father, the sins of your father, and those things. And for me, I love that the character that was so idolized and so put on this pedestal after Return of the Jedi, as to what felt like, okay, he was basically Jesus Christ after that. Was that
dude bought into his own hype?
Right? Was that no? He absolutely. There was a moment, and it was that family moment, that connection with Ben Solo, him being a family member that made him slip and make the same mistake his father made. And so I see, and I get your perspective, but I just looked at it at a completely different way.
Yeah. Well, how I looked at it is what happened on Mustafar when Padme landed. He choked her out, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay. Anakin choked her out. Okay. Why did Anakin do that?
Because Obi-Wan was there for one.
No. Go further back, because he was having visions.
He went into his own head
of Padme dying in childbirth.
And then on top of that, you get into the moment. If you look at the moment in and of itself, you don't even need to go back. You can just look in the moment. The fact that Anakin had gone so far down the rabbit hole, you can use that as an art. You can use that to sort of establish this. He had gone so far down the rabbit hole and gone into his own mind that when he sees Obi-Wan and he thinks that this was all a setup. What does he say to Padme? You brought him here to kill me. Let me
rebuttal that then. Because you remember in Empire Strikes Back when he's training with Yoda and he's like upside down and he's like balancing stuff in the Force, right? He started seeing visions himself, correct? Of Leia.
Yeah, but Yoda told him don't go.
Danger. Exactly.
Yeah.
So hold on. I'm getting to that. Hold on. Yes. So he sees visions of Han and Leia possibly in danger, and Yoda telling him, "No, don't go, because it'll risk a whole bunch of things." But
let them die.
Yes. And so Luke was caught up in his feelings, and then what happened after that? He almost got his ass handed to him. Well, no, he did get his ass handed to him by Vader.
He did.
And Han and Leia are all right. They're fine. And then going to Return of the Jedi, when we're talking about like actions done by emotion. Remember when Luke fought Vader on the Death Star, and then what happened? Vader provoking him, being like, "I'm gonna take your sister and turn into the dark side," and then Luke got all pissed and started just bam, bam, bam on Vader. And then what did he do? Chop his arm off? And then what did
Hand.
Sidious do? You fulfill
Almost
your
became
hand,
him.
Hand,
Yeah.
yes. Take the place at my side. And then what did he do? He had that moment of being like, what have I become? What am I doing? And so that's why it feels more of a betrayal, because he actually had that moment of being like, what am I doing? Anakin didn't have that moment. He was always full on emotion without thinking. But Luke was the
Well,
one
he
like,
did kind of after he cut off Mace Windu's arms. He's like, what have I done?
And then what did he do? Go to the dark side.
Execute Order 66. Son of a bitch. But no, I think that the whole thing was he was trying to tell Rey that the Jedi's whole gig is to not get involved. It's like, if you want me to get involved, you're knocking up the wrong door, man, because the Jedi's fault was they got involved.
Yep.
Yeah,
the Jedi's fault was they got involved in politics and the military.
Yes.
And the problem was Luke, and the problem was, and this is the point of the arc of Luke's character in The Last Jedi, was that Luke went too far. Luke misinterpreted that as being the Jedi got too involved in everything, as opposed to what the correct answer that I interpreted at the end of The Last Jedi was, the Jedi need to be involved if this is truly a fight between good and evil. It doesn't have to be the Jedi and the Sith, but if there is, what's that quote? Oh my gosh. If tyranny is allowed to flow if good men do nothing. Something along that line.
Yeah, right,
you guys understand the quote I'm trying to say. And that was the point.
Yes.
Luke forgot that you have to get involved if something wrong and unjust is being done. You don't just get involved for the sake of they forgot. The point was the Jedi had forgotten the quote, even though it was a quote that Mace Windu said in Attack of the Clones to show you kind of the twist of the knife. We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. Ahsoka said it again, because it's the point this was a civil conflict between people who wanted to secede from the galaxy, who wanted to secede from an intergalactic political system and do something on their own, and people who didn't want that. This wasn't like there wasn't a direct. The Separatists did bad things, but I mean, there wasn't a sort of evil in the way that there was Sidious or Snoke, and so there wasn't a moral unjustness in that sense. It was just kind of a war not unlike the First World War, where it was just kind of everybody was picking sides. Gross oversimplification, possibly a misunderstanding of the argument, but hopefully I'm communicating my thoughts
TW,
clearly.
That's not a bad explanation. Now here's the other thing. I don't know how well you all are versed in the old EU, but I did a lot of research just for fun and also for my story.
Yeah.
The ancient Jedi, or just to keep the terminology simple, the ancient Jedi were not a part of the Republic. Not to any one degree or another. They were their own separate entity for generations.
Like the Jedi Order you're talking about, right?
Yes, exactly, TW. Yes. So
I've read Dawn of the Jedi, so I know.
Okay, so you know. And then of course you have the Great Schism within the ancient Jedi Order, which created a outcast group that would eventually become known as the Sith.
Yeah.
Here is the problem, and this is actually this is part of the story I'm writing. For eons upon end, there has been a division within the Force that never should have existed. The Force was, as I understand it, within the Dawn of the Jedi and other lore other material that I've read, was always viewed as viewed as a whole, neither light nor dark. It was only your own moral and ethical decisions that dictated how you used the Force. But unfortunately, the Jedi got too big, and their heads got too big, and then of course, once the split happened, You had the outcasts that became known as the Sith, and then you had eons upon eons of conflict between the Jedi and the Sith until the Jedi, or rather the Sith, got smart in there. And with Darth Bane, and he says, "Yeah, we're just going to keep it to him. We're going to work behind the scenes for the next few thousand years until we get into a position where we can take down the Jedi and the Republic." The problem becomes the Jedi should have never become a part of. They should have never become a political or military arm of the Republic. They got involved in galactic politics and galactic affairs when they should have stayed as they were always intended, their own separate entity with their own separate leadership, for good or bad. Now, honestly, in my perspective, I think it was wrong I think it was bad for the ancient Jedi to be split just because of a difference of opinion on how the practicing of the Force should be carried out. But it happened. And ultimately, I think what Luke was trying to do was not misguided. What he was trying to tell Rey was in part correct. But again, it all comes down to the execution of the story that we see on the screen. I think, honestly, to finally answer your question, TW, what would I have replaced? I would have significantly trimmed down the whole issue with the First Order and the Resistance / New and the New Rebellion or New Republic, or the remnants of the New Republic. I would have still kept that part of the movie, of the story in that movie, but it wouldn't have been the main focus, because the focus should have been more so on Rey's and Luke's journeys, and both separately and together. That should have been the focus of the film. If the movie's called The Last Jedi, I mean, think about it honestly. If you look at Empire, the majority of the film is focused on Yoda and Luke, and yes, you do have scenes edited in and everything that deal with Leia and Han trying to escape from the Empire and eventually getting to Bespin. But it all focuses around Luke's journey as well, because it all feeds into where Luke's journey is going to ultimately become. And it's going to be him making the decision to leave before he's ready to go to Bespin to face Vader and try to save his friends, which is a noble act, but a misguided one. I will acknowledge that freely, that Luke's decision to go to Bespin was misguided, because yes, we don't know necessarily what would have happened if Luke hadn't gone to Bespin. For all we know, Leia could have potentially been aided by Lando, and they could have escaped. And yes, Han will still gotten frozen in carbonite. But think about it: if Leia and Lando and Chewie and R2 and 3PO, or at least 3PO, are able to get away and get back to the rebellion, then the rebellion could have aided in rescuing Han Solo. They had the resources, and they would have figured out a plan. I mean, you've got you've got several very good military minds, not to mention you've got Lando Calrissian himself, who's gotten in and out of all sorts of scrapes. They could have figured out a plan to rescue Han. And Luke could have stayed on Bespin, finished his training, and been a fully trained Jedi ready to take on Vader and take on the Emperor, and been much more of an asset. Now, he was an asset in Return of the Jedi, absolutely. But at the same time, we're rewriting a whole entire movie that a lot of people regard as one of the very best in the entire Star Wars franchise, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And I think a lot of people agree with that. Empire is by far one of the very best, if not the best, of the entire franchise. So
Return of the Jedi is my favorite, actually.
I agree. Empire's the best. I love Return of the Jedi.
I love
my
Jedi
list goes
too.
Empire, Return of the Jedi, and The Last Jedi. I think those three films are the epitome of the.
That's your take, Austin, and I will respect.
Yeah. But no, I do agree. Right, Empire Strikes Back is definitely the high point of the series. But I mean, that's kind of what I liked about I liked that in The Last Jedi, is that there are the parallels there are the comparisons. But it doesn't do what the Empire Strikes Back did, and it doesn't do This is kind of like The Force Awakens, super reminiscent of A New Hope, and even probably more like A New Hope than anything. But still, there were moments that I was like, okay, yeah, this is similar, but they went in different directions. So I don't know. That's my take.
Right. Look, I'm not saying I will never say my answer is a definitive answer. Everybody has their own answer and their own perspective. So
yeah, no, that's the beauty of the fandom. There's no definitive answer, you know.
Well, I mean, I will say one thing to compliment the prequels in a sense that some of them aged pretty well. Like, I mean, you could really go back and watch a lot of those movies, and you know, where they were hated when they came out. You know, over time, people chilled and kind of came around to them and stuff like that. So, and not only that, but I think right now with what they're currently doing with Star Wars is they're trying to tie everything together a little bit better. Yeah. And that will make those movies better by just virtue of the fact that we know a little bit more, because just some of the books that have come out, Bloodlines in particular, it did so much that if they would have actually shown that instead of The Force Awakens, or at least put some of that in The Force Awakens, it would have been a better movie, in my opinion, because it would have introduced the new things. And the one thing that we have to do, and Kylo Ren said it best, is certain aspects of it, we got to let it die. Yeah. We got to let the past die. And you got to let go. You have to let go of the original characters, you know, sooner
I
or later.
would say this. Of all the characters in the sequel trilogy, I liked Kylo Ren. He had potential to be a great character. That's why I have him in my story, because Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, he's by far the standout. He's by far one of the standouts, if not the standout of the entire sequel trilogy.
I agree.
Yeah, he's my favorite of the
even the sexy shirtless scene. I was like, I'll take that. No,
yeah, even that. Like,
about the mask, man, I love it.
And hey, you know what, that dude Vince, you don't like Attack of the Clones. Cool. Me,
neither
I went and cosplay as a Jedi to see Attack of the Clones, and I do not regret it.
So I saw Attack of the Clones when I was 7.
I heard that, TW.
So
I like it's going back. It's a terrible film, dialogue wise, and all that. But like, dude, I that's my guilty pleasure Star Wars movie. I love Attack of the Clones. I mean, you can't go wrong, dude. Little Yoda walking in on Count Dooku and waddling in, and then just dropping the cane and being like, I'm like, yeah.
I can, to this day, I still remember the theater I went to, because I think I saw Attack of the Clones, I think at least 3 times, and that was the first IMAX movie I ever saw. Every single time that scene came up, the audience, regardless of what size, always erupted like, hell yes!
Yeah, they freaked out.
Yes, I mean, okay, yes, what Yoda says in Empire is absolutely true. Wars do not make one great. But him in that moment is he, and you know what? You get that scene is great.
It elevates the movie.
But his scene, his final battle, his true final battle against Sidious in Revenge of the Sith is glorious. It's like, okay, I will compare this. Is the first greatest duel in modern cinema. The other greatest duel, and it's not even from Star Wars. It's from Harry Potter, Voldemort versus Dumbledore in Order of the Phoenix. That is the chains kick ass, balls to the walls. You have 2 powerful masters going at each other, throwing everything that they have at each other, and it is glorious.
Yes,
he ain't lying.
That's 100% agree.
I still remember. I have the novelization. I have the novel of Revenge of the Sith. I remember there's a line of dialogue. And I'll paraphrase it. Their motions are like a clash of light and darkness, but supreme light and supreme darkness colliding to see who will be the master of this galaxy, of that galaxy.
Are we talking about Star Wars, or are we talking about the
Attaboy.
last?
We're talking about Star Wars.
Attaboy.
Are we talking about the Last Dragon, where Shonuff and Bruce Leroy are about to throw down for the Golden Glove? No, all right.
For the fate of the world.
Attaboy. No, but yes, that is awesome, Vincent. God knows I'd love to see him again.
Heck yeah. All right, fellas. Well, shit, man, we've almost gone on for 2 hours. This has been pretty fun. Well, first we kind of started. I wasn't really diminishing any of the characters, so I wasn't going to take any shots at Cara Dune or anything like that. Not even a Gina Carano.
Even though I didn't have shots either with Rose or Cara. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Here's my criticism.
I'll take the shots, damn it. Cara Dune and Rose suck. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, damn it.
Shut your
Since-
dirty non-geek
Since you
mouth.
kind of came in, we basically kind of just pointing out some of the things that made Rose a better character, kind of why she's misunderstood, and or kind of underestimated is the best word I could put. So I mean, if you got a few words to say before we take off, man, go right ahead, bud.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I enjoyed the character of Rose. I thought I don't think she was a waste. I think she was a waste in The Rise of Skywalker and how they used her.
Yeah.
But I think in The Last Jedi and stuff, I think there was a lot of potential, I think, for that character. And look, I'm always big on representation and all that type of stuff too. So for me, I liked it. I know there was a lot of hate.
No,
for
I wasn't. I wasn't laughing at the representation thing. I was just laughing at something that Kira said in the comment. Because just as a heads up, Kira, that is the F word in German.
Uh-oh.
Yes, it is.
Whoops.
What? Oh,
There goes the algorithm there.
just expanded my vocabulary. Let me tell you something. No, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of unnecessary hate and stuff. And I honestly, I would love she's probably one of the characters actually I would rather see a show or stuff go on with her than Rey or any of the other guys. Like,
Okay, hold on a minute.
Shut your mouth.
Nope.
I would rather see a
Taking
show
the name back.
centered
Taking
around
the name
Rey
back,
than
Austin. You have to call yourself
centered
something else. I'm taking the name back.
yeah.
So
Cancel me. Do it.
Okay,
No, I mean,
there you go. Similar
no,
to
I
how
mean,
you,
good.
real quick, similar to how you said you were thinking like a fan rewrite of how you would do the Last Jedi Ambassador. I've been saying for the longest time that they should do an animated show similar to Clone Wars or Rebels, where it takes place after the Rise of Skywalker, and it focuses more on Rey, Finn, and Poe, and expands them as characters. And Rose can be in there too. Why not? Like, have it be an anthology. It focuses on different characters each episode. That would be sweet.
Here's
disagree,
the crazy thing. The thing I'm writing, which is part 3 of 3, which I've got to write parts 1 and 2, is not actually a rewrite of The Last Jedi. It's a complete and utter rewrite, and I've pretty much stripped anything and everything that even resembles from The Rise of Skywalker. It's a rewrite of The Rise of Skywalker because I did not like the fact that she took a name that doesn't belong to her. Just saying.
Yeah, the Rise of Skywalker.
That
I'll be
name
honest,
does not belong to her, but by the
time
time I'm done,
part rolled around in the movie, I didn't care enough about her character for her to take the mantle or not. I just was like,
I thought she was gonna say just Rey, but I thought like when she said Skywalker, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't affect me. I wasn't like,
It wasn't that I didn't care. It was just I was surprised. Like, for example, like the twists and the snap moments that a lot of people either loved or hated. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I will admit that the twist about you don't just have power, you have his power. I did actually full on first time in the theater, like jaw floor. It was like, what? Because I didn't read any of the Reddit leaks. So
it has its moments.
Oh.
It has its like, dude, the scene where like Sidious straight up just goes in the lightning I was basically shitting. I was like,
I could have done without. I could have done without the
Force Unleashed shit.
I could have done without the base boosting. but I did love the visuals of that scene.
Yeah.
If it was lightning, like actual like lightning sounds, I would have been like on board. I'm like, oh, I mean, I was still like that anyway, but like just the fact of
The only-
snap, you know.
The only thing I remember, one of the few things I remember is I had a nasty headache the entire way through the movie, and I ended up. This is one. Rise of Skywalker is one of 3 movies I've ever walked out of in my entire life. The moment
Wow.
right after they kill Palpatine, I look at the missus. I like, honey, I'll be out in the lobby waiting for y'all.
You were so close.
No, I couldn't do it. I could not do it because I knew what was coming, and if I had stayed, I would have gone into mega overload geeker rage, and I would have tossed my bucket of popcorn at the freaking screen and said, "You are a freaking thief!"
I will have to say, the one moment, regardless of opinions of the narrative, one of the moments, I think probably one of the best moments in the movie, and he didn't have to say a damn word to do it, was Adam Driver pulling himself out of the hole. And like there's a moment where he's looking around. The moment where he's looking around and like after he's holding Rey's body, and you know he just wants to scream, but he knows either no one will hear him or no one will care. Because they don't know Rey's down there. So like he has to kind of he knows what he has to do, but he doesn't know if he has the strength to do it, you know?
Meh.
Verbally when that happened, I went,
nice,
no! But, yeah. It didn't stop it from happening.
Other than the fact of them killing her, I'm like, wow, that's ballsy.
Here's the thing. Death in that movie meant absolutely nothing except for the final boss. Everybody survived. Except for Ben.
Not
and for God knows what sits still around, Sidious is still around, like...
No
one's ever really gone.
I know.
For some who know, so for people that know the extended universe and stuff, this is not the first time Palpatine came back. So
yes, I know. I love Dark Empire.
I love Dark Empire too. I was like,
I do too.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You can separate the old EU from the main continuity, and it doesn't ruin anything because they are their own separate things. I love Dark Empire. I love Dark Empire 2. I love Empire's End. Those 3 stories are, the artwork itself, I think, is awesome. The story itself, I think that it tells, I think, is great. I mean that with all sincerity. And no, for me, it doesn't ruin, at least at that time, the original trilogy, now known as, well, for me, the saga ends at episode 6, and anything else is new EU.
My favorite thing that I own, one of my favorite things that I own, was the last Blu-ray set before the acquisition. You guys remember what it was called? Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Oh yeah.
You mean
this one?
Yeah.
I have the other one. I have the one with Anakin standing in front of the hut.
The
shadow of Vader on the wall.
Yeah.
You mean
that one? Yep.
I kind of said my piece on Into Darkness over on JP's stream the other night because it was like,
oh yeah, I was there. Oh, you want to see?
Show it again?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've never walked out of a movie. I've never walked out of a movie.
Ooh. I walked out of a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Star Trek Into Darkness. I almost
did. Did you walk out of, Austin?
I liked Into Darkness, but I know it has problems. I know it has problems.
Which one, Austin?
Ooh. Oh, that's so sexy. Look at that deal. Look at that. Inherent Vice. Inherent Vice was the movie I watched.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to that. So I was like, okay. Because I was like, choose wisely. If you said There Will Be Blood, I'm like, we're going to have to take the name back.
Oh, There Will Be Blood. I love that movie.
That is a great movie.
That is one of my 2 favorite. That is one of my 2 favorite with what's the name of the guy? Daniel Davis. The other one I love him in.
Daniel Lewis is amazing, man.
Daniel Day-Lewis. I loved him in Let There Be Blood, but I also loved him in Lincoln. He was awesome in Lincoln. Lincoln is my favorite
role I've ever seen. My favorite role I've ever seen Daniel Day-Lewis in is Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York. That's mine.
That's a pretty good one too.
Oh yeah, him and Gangs in New York.
He is my dad's, I think,
Mustache.
second favorite actor after Robert De Niro. So, but like, definitely,
Okay.
I'm not lying when I think about Daniel Day-Lewis's character. I think that little bit of like Han Solo must have said that line at some point in his life. You know, I've abandoned my job. Like he must have said that at some point in his life. He must have thought about it. You know, like I can't lie. Like I said, The Last Jedi had some great moments, like the whole, you know, what did you come here for? To save my soul, you know, and which I still think is is a great line. And then, you know, Ben, I'm sorry. I'm sure you are, you know. I'm like, hey, the guy's not over it, and I don't blame him, you know, but
Right.
he went
I think it was the Mist or the Pod, the one. Jam,
he
you're thinking of
goes
The
on.
Happening.
The Happening. Yeah, I think a lot of people walked out of that one.
I actually, I said all the way through. Okay, this might be a little bit of a hot take. I didn't hate The Happening, but I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters. I haven't even set one eye on it since, and I can't remember when that movie came out.
That
It's like
film is
2008
pure
or
example
2006.
of
Yeah.
that
Wow,
movie
that's
is
a long
pure
time.
example of why Shyamalan is garbage. Thank you very much.
Well,
Shyamalan isn't completely garbage.
Garbage.
He got a big
Garbage.
head.
Trash.
he's got his
In my
strong.
mouth. Garbage.
He's got good
man.
stuff.
Oh,
DL,
man.
don't be such a hater.
Hey, how
Do
you
not
feel about
turn-
Ryan Johnson? How you feel about Ryan Johnson? That's how I feel about M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, there
There you go.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shyamalan's garbage. I had enough.
Oh, man.
I will say this: Shyamalan did some good movies in his early career,
Okay,
but
Split.
he's just.
Split was
I mean-
good. Hold up, you had issues
Yeah.
with Split?
No, I said no. Split is the only good movie
Okay.
he made.
Okay.
Signs.
In a while.
I
No.
enjoy
Signs was good.
I like
Signs was
I
very
like
good. I
Signs.
thought Signs had a really cool message.
Swing away. Was that the message?
I mean,
No,
I'm kidding.
you godless heathen.
When that movie came out, I was not.
Honestly, I think Signs is a very good movie. You don't
I
like
like
it,
Signs.
cool. You don't. It's not
But I
one of
mean,
my
I think
films.
we all know that his magnum opus is Avatar: Last Airbender.
Oh, the last
Earth,
trash
right?
Yeah, his magnum
Yeah.
opus of stuck ass.
Bender?
Hang on. If
Did
you've
you
been,
say the
I have a-
last ass
I have a
bender?
question.
Yes.
I have a question. I have a question.
Oh, Jerry.
What kind of? I guess it would be subjective depending on the refuse involved, but I guess trash bender would have to be full on subjective, right? Because it depends on the garbage involved, right?
I mean, true.
No.
But even people who don't know anything about Avatar said that movie's not good.
Avatar,
For
the
those,
last
if you guys want a
ass
fun,
bender.
if you guys want a
Sounds
fun
like a
breakdown
porn
of,
parody.
if you guys want a fun breakdown of a man's descent into madness, but also a genuinely interesting critique of the film, go check out Hello Future Me's video on The Last Airbender. It's actually great. And if Goldman's still here,
Yes.
if Goldman's still here, it's like Ray is not a Mary Sue length video.
I would.
So
rather-
brace yourselves, but it's great.
It's so good.
I might check that out.
But no, I can't
Yeah,
forgive him for
I
that.
just-
I can't forgive him for
Avatar,
the After
the last
Earth
ass
and-
bender.
When it
Yeah,
comes
Both
to
that
when it
could be
comes to
worse.
when it comes to emergency vaccination clinics, you know what they
could
were
be
saying?
Like that.
Bro, he said, I got
Who the
this.
hell was
I got
pitching?
this.
That-
Is that Conor McGregor?
It's Conor McGregor.
Oh my god.
No, he
That's
sucks
the
as
question.
much.
Bro.
Who the
That's
heck
the
is that
sport.
guy?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Who the
Dude is in front of him.
No, who
Connor
the-
said, that way.
Threw it into the
The
first
reason they play
row.
football- The reason they play football in Ireland.
He went way over his head, bro. That's not even close. Look at this. Oh, you suck.
Not unlike his
Because
last
he-
fight with Khabib. What?
Oh my
So-
god.
Conor McGregor
man.
has
Did
I
absolutely
say that out
no
loud? I'm sorry,
athletic
that was
skill
wrong.
whatsoever. He sucks. At
No,
MMA.
don't say
He
that.
also-
Did you not see him throw that chair at the bus? That's some skill, man. Come on, don't say that.
Dude,
Hey,
Conor
he
can
can
McGregor's
throw a chair at
legit.
the bus. and hit it.
Can't hit a guy behind the home plate though.
And with
Sorry, I
that,
saw that, and I had to share that.
Okay, I'm
Not
going
even in
to
the
quote a favorite.
vicinity.
That's
I'm going to
Shyamalan's
quote
whole
a favorite movie
career
of
right
mine.
there.
You all will probably get this reference. You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat.
Right.
Anybody? Please, someone get that reference.
I know. Oh God, you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. Oh my gosh, is that from Back to the Future Part 2?
Is that Tenet
No.
when they try to throw him overboard?
Give me the
No.
decade. Give me the decade.
Oh yeah,
Early
fuck Nolan
2000s.
too. Fuck Nolan too. I walked out of Dunkirk too. That's the movie I walked
Okay,
out of. Dunkirk.
I'll give you a couple of
Nice.
hints. You probably won't even need all of them.
Okay.
Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn,
Dodgeball.
Rip Torn.
Dodgeball?
Bingo.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
said
Water
it
if you-
though? Who said it?
That was Rip Torn's character, wasn't it?
Yep, Patches O'Houlihan.
Oh my gosh.
All right, ladies. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Dodge.
God,
If
I
you can
love that
dodge
movie.
traffic, you can dodge a ball.
That movie is amazing.
Dodge a wrench.
We should do a watch party for that.
Oh,
Dodge the
God.
wrench parts, Joe. With Justin
Oh,
Law, and the
boy.
poor dude is just like getting wrenches.
You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
Oh my gosh. That was funny.
And I love the fact they called Justin
Oh.
Long's character Cubate.
Oh, get a load of this. Get a load of this. One of my favorite stories. Actually, no, I'll tell you the story in the back room. I'll tell you the story in the back room but it is funny. It relates to dodgeball, I promise.
Okay.
All right. That being said, I really got to get going. Make sure to go over and check out my buddy Aaron if you like wrestling. Aaron World Order. He's doing the watch along right now for NXT. So if you guys want to hop over there,
And I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna double check a live because I know JP's doing his thing.
I feel so bad. Sorry, dude. We went so long. My bad.
And
sorry,
also,
Meta.
if you guys are into NFL football or NCAA college football, I highly recommend checking out our good friend Anthony, the ACS Universe.
Right.
Absolutely.
has
Instant
a
replay.
show called Instant Replay, which I love, and I'm also part of the fantasy league, and I'll be coming over to talk some smack to Sloan because I beat him this week.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice, man. All right. So we'll go around the horn here, say goodbye, tell everyone where they can find you and all that good stuff. We'll start with Mr. Dial. Go right ahead and tell him what.
Okay. All right, y'all can find me on YouTube at I'm Dial. I talk about movies and shows, everything in nerd and geek culture, including Marvel, DC, Star Wars, all that. So yeah, some DC stuff's about to come really soon, and then Disney reviews with my girlfriend is going to be up pretty soon as well, and then also going to be talking about Star Wars Visions really soon because that's about to come out.
Yes.
Drops at 3 a.m. local.
And I'll be there watching.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, if you want to hear my
I'll be in
takes
bed,
on-
but I'll catch it tomorrow afternoon.
As will I.
Cool. So yeah, if you want to hear my takes on things, go ahead, check out my channel.
Beautiful. All right, Mr. TW.
If you guys want to have a conversation just about anything, whatever it's Star Wars, whether it's whatever, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on
He's
Reddit,
always a good chat too. Trust me.
and also on I believe it's also my username on Discord at TWMcKay34 as put in the chat.
Very cool.
Beautiful. All right, Mr. Austin.
Yeah, and then you can find me over. Basically, I've moved to YouTube, so I'm over on Pop Culture Corner, I'm over on Enosh, I'm here, I'm everywhere. And then on Twitter, you can find me AlienLV1023.
Heck yeah, man. It's always fun getting around, right?
Yep.
What show do you
All
host on
right.
Pop Culture Corner?
They have Pop Culture Corner. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I have a show called Lean on Me. CW came up with the name.
Austin,
Monday
I will be
night's such a
more
good
than
one.
happy to lean on you.
All right, Mr. Ambassador.
That was awkward.
I know what you meant. It's all good.
I'll take it.
Oh my
Anyways, folks, you can find me on my channel, The Ambassador Wing. I talk pop culture, modern and retro. If it's geeky, if it's nerdy, if it's fun, I discuss it. I will be doing a Afternoons with the Ambassador tomorrow afternoon, where I'll be discussing Star Wars Visions, the latest episode of What If, and I will be giving my thoughts on the statement given by Marsha Lucas. Unlike Matt Jarbo, I can speak and I can pronounce people's names properly.
Hey, kept saying Marcia. I was like, dude, it's Marsha.
Marsha. And
Marsha.
this Thursday night, I'll be doing an Ambassador's Retro Review, and I'll be discussing two of my favorite films from the 1990s. And they are both from the great one himself, Sylvester Stallone, Demolition Man, and
The Bodyguard.
Judge Dredd.
That's also great. That works.
So,
Two movies starring Rob Schneider as well.
yes,
Oh my god.
and one
Oh.
starring the beautiful and glamorous Sandra Bullock, who is beautiful, but she isn't quite as beautiful as
Diane Lane. Mm.
nope, Brie Larson.
Oh no, but
What?
Diane Lane is in Judge Dredd.
Oh boy.
That is true.
Where did
She
Brie
is-
Larson go? Like, what the Brie Larson what?
I was saying that
I don't
Sandra
know.
Bullock is attractive, but she's not as attractive as Brie Larson.
Ah, okay.
I'm
So
trying.
it's all right. It's
I'm-
all right. We're gonna see the Phantom Menace, swarming his house. We're gonna see Ambassador on stream. He's gonna. What's that red dot in the middle of your head?
Oh god.
TW. You think I'm going? Oh, I'm going all out. This on the 30th. I'm doing a Brie Larson appreciation stream.
Which is
Okay,
perfectly
look.
fine. Everyone likes to roast Brie Larson.
No,
Okay,
She's a great
appreciation.
I'm not part of the Phantom Menace, but fuck Brie Larson. I don't.
Oh my god, DL, who do you like at this point? Come on, dude. No, I'm kidding.
A whole lot of things. There's a
He
whole lot
said,
of things that
fuck
I
Chris
like.
Nolan, fuck Brie Larson, fuck this. Oh,
Fucking my shop alarm.
Oh man.
God.
Look,
He
there's
has
a lot of
like-
there's a lot of
DL,
things
you
that I
said
like.
you
We
have
just
a
haven't talked about
girlfriend.
it yet. Yes, I have a
DL, you
girlfriend.
said you have a girlfriend. What is it? Your right hand?
Yes.
Oh Jesus.
Huh?
Oh!
Oh, okay. Okay.
Damn, bro.
Oh, okay. Try
Man.
telling that to my girlfriend. She's gonna.
She's on the stream.
Yes, she's on my channel. I have Disney reviews with her. She exists.
Oh.
Just letting you know.
All right. That being said, I'm gonna have my good buddy Dale Gribble send us out of here in style.
Fake errors. What they do on purpose. By now, your name and particulars have been fed into every laptop, desktop, mainframe, and supermarket scanner that collectively make up the global information conspiracy, otherwise known as the Beast.
See you later, everybody.
Peace, everybody.
Wait.